Welcome back to Art with Miss Karen. I'm so excited to make some Christmas themed art with you to celebrate this time of year. Grab your paper and pencil and get ready to be creative. Before we begin our snowflakes, you're going to need to grab a few things. First of all, you're going to need your white crayon, a white piece of paper, and your watercolor paints. We're going to be mixing up a few new colors such as pink and light blue and purple in our watercolor sets today. So let's begin by grabbing a practice piece of paper, and we are going to try practicing drawing our snowflakes before we begin on our project paper, just so that you can see them. So on my practice paper, I'm going to be using a blue crayon so I can see the snowflakes, but on our actual project, we are going to be using a white crayon, and you won't be able to see your snowflakes at first until you use your watercolor. So on our practice paper, let me show you how we're going to draw our snowflakes so that you can see them on the screen as I draw them. So we'll just draw some really big snowflakes, and we'll start off with an X. Once you have an X, we'll draw a plus sign through it. And you want to push hard. When we get to our project paper and our white crayon, you're going to want to be pushing really hard. Try not to break your crayon, but you want to lay down a lot of the crayon wax on your white paper. Okay, so we have our X and a plus sign going through it, and this is where it gets really fun. You can be super creative and add in any kind of details. Sometimes I add diamonds on the ends of my snowflakes, maybe every other point. This is where you get to decide what your snowflake is, and God makes each snowflake very different, and each one is unique, and so you can create your snowflakes to be unique for you as well. There's no wrong way to make a snowflake. You just want to make sure that it is symmetrical. Symmetrical just means that it's the same on both sides. If I were to cut it in half, I would see this side is the same as that side, and that means it's symmetrical. So make sure that you're making your snowflakes the same on both sides. So here's one snowflake for an example, and maybe I want to make a few smaller ones here and there. We're going to be filling our whole paper with snowflakes on our project paper. So there's an example of what we're going to be doing. So on my project paper, I'm going to be using my white crayon to draw different kinds of snowflakes all over my paper. Now, it will be hard to see, and if you have a hard time seeing it, you can try tilting your paper. You can try tilting it different ways so it reflects off of the light. So you're going to see me drawing, and you're probably not going to be able to see the crayon showing up, and that's okay. So I'm going to put my practice sheet aside, and I'm going to put away my blue crayon, and I'm getting out my white crayon and my final picture, my project paper. So I'm going to begin just the same way we did when we practiced, making a big X, a plus sign through it, and then adding in my details. Now I can kind of see, if I get my head close to my paper and I can see with my eyes the wax reflecting the light in my room, then I can see where the wax is getting on my paper. So go ahead and continue and make a whole bunch of snowflakes over your whole paper. Alright, I've finished making snowflakes of all different sizes, different shapes, all over my paper with a white crayon. So I can't see it very well, but if I lean my eyes close to it and I can see the reflections, I can see that there's no empty spaces. I filled my whole paper with white crayon snowflakes. So I'm going to put my white crayon away, and next we're going to get our watercolor set up. So this is really cool. We're gonna see our snowflakes start to come to life on our paper, but let me show you how we're gonna make some new colors. So you can see I already have some kind of a mess on my watercolor lid, but we're gonna be putting water from our cup into these little side trays to make new puddles. So I'm gonna get my paintbrush and I'm gonna go ahead and kind of clean up my tray. So I can wash it off with my paintbrush a little bit. Maybe I'll wash out, this was brown from an earlier project, so I can get my tissue and dry up a little spot so we can make a new color. I'm gonna be making pink today in my side tray because I already have blue and purple. So those are the only three colors that I'm gonna be putting on my paper today is pink, blue, and purple. So to make my pink, I'm gonna just add water, make a puddle on my side tray right here. So I'm scooping up water from my cup and putting it in this side tray. Now with watercolor, whenever you wanna make a lighter color, all you have to do is add water. So pink is just a lighter shade of red. So I'm gonna get a little bit of red and add it to this water puddle, and this will make the color pink. So I don't need to add too much red, just enough to make it pink when it touches my paper. So now I have my pink puddle, and now I'm gonna add some, I rinse out my paintbrush. Whenever you change colors, make sure you rinse, 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 tap, 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 and scrape off the extra. I'm gonna be getting some water and adding it to my purple so that it is ready to go. Make a puddle on my purple and a puddle on my blue so that those, now I have my three colors ready to go. So I'm gonna start off, I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna start off with adding pink to my paper. So I'm gonna get some pink and just start laying it out on my paper in different spots. And you can already see my snowflake is starting to show up. So we're gonna kind of make this a tie-dye effect where I paint my different colors in different spots all over my paper. And I'm just kind of scribbling. This is the one time that I will encourage scribbling. You wanna make sure your purple, your blue, and your pink are nice and mixed together all over your paper. So I'm gonna add purple in random spots, pink in random spots, and blue all over my paper. So I turned down the brightness a little bit so you can see my snowflakes a little bit better. You can see that I have some puddles starting to form because I have too much paint or too much water on my paper. So once you're finished making sure that all of the edges are filled with paint, so I still have a few more edges that I can fill in. There we go. So now all of my paint is filling my whole paper. And so now I can go in with a tissue and I just want the corner of my tissue and I can soak up where those puddles are starting to form. I don't really want to have puddles on my paper. So now you can see how that dark area is gone because I soaked it up with a tissue. So grab a tissue or a paper towel or something and soak up all of the areas where puddles are. Alright, so I've just finished dabbing up all of the little puddles that were all over my paper. The reason we don't want these puddles on our paper is because it might damage our paper or it will take it longer to dry, and it also might be blocking our snowflake. So over here I had a snowflake that was covered with a puddle, and now that I dried up my puddle I can see that snowflake. So continue to do this. Let your paper dry and you'll continue to see your watercolors blend together as they find their place on the paper. And this was a really quick project, but every time you do it, you're gonna find new ways of making your snowflakes, new ways of seeing how your watercolor blends together. So continue to do this. You could do not just one of these snowflake papers, but you could continue to make different ones. You could make them into Christmas cards by folding it in half once it's dry. There's so many different possibilities for this project. Thanks again for joining Art with Miss Karen. I hope you enjoyed making art with us today. If you want to share your art with me, please send it to artwithkaren@gmail.com, and I would love to see what you guys did today. Also, don't forget to look back at the rest of the videos on my channel to see if there's something else that you want to learn how to draw. Merry Christmas, and I hope to see you soon.